13 countries from the United States, Europe, and Japan have launched joint military exercises in Australia, and this activity is called Guardian Sword. But I've been wondering, who comes up with these names? Guardian Sword really sounds like a new shopping list for my uncle who loves collecting swords. They are focusing on the Indo-Pacific and the Taiwan Strait, and I think this might be the world's biggest beach party. It seems like some people may have misunderstood the difference between a beach and a battlefield. Hey, this isn't you lying on the beach, sipping cocktails, and wearing sunglasses, right? Moreover, there are some new faces joining this party this year. Germany is participating in these military exercises for the first time. Maybe Germany also wants to try out the Guardian Sword, and see if it suits their taste. You know, Germans are always meticulous in their pursuit of quality, so perhaps they will suggest changing the name of the exercise to Luxury and Efficient Guardian Sword, and add the iconic, Made in Germany, label. Now, what I want to say is that Germany has a very difficult task in this exercise, which is to walk a tightrope between its security and economic interests. It sounds more like a circus performance than a military exercise. I can imagine a German soldier, fully armed, walking on a tightrope while below, there's a crowd of circus spectators cheering him on, drinking beer, and eating sausages. But the most interesting part is that China is Germany's largest trading partner. So I can imagine that after the military exercise, Germans might make a phone call to China and say, "Hey, China, we just simulated an attack on you in the exercise, but can we still do business? We have a large batch of sauerkraut to export." It's like being at a family gathering where you and your cousin had a fight, but a few minutes later, you're playing video games together as if nothing happened. But what surprises me the most is that China, who is known for their love of peace and always appears in military exercise news, says they don't oppose military exercises but hope they won't do anything that undermines regional peace and stability. When I saw this news, my first reaction was, so China has a sense of humor too. We all know that in such large-scale military exercises, the existence of peace and stability is like searching for a watermelon in the desert. It's really frustrating. Of course, every country has its own reasons, like Germany wanting to prove that they are reliable and capable partners. Germany, I know you have the capability, after all, you showed remarkable. Well, let's not mention that during World War II, North Korea is launching missiles again. It feels like Kim Jong-un is playing a real-time strategy game, and he might say, "Alright, I discovered this button can launch missiles, let's press it and see what happens." And right at that moment, a US nuclear submarine shines like Big Brother, making an appearance and docking in Busan, South Korea for 2 days. This is the first time in 40 years, like a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster, that gives you the feeling you're about to watch Pacific Rim 3. North Korea, in response to the visit of this nuclear submarine, is in a state of panic, thinking it might be a prelude to an attack against them. You know that feeling, right? It's like when you suddenly find out your roommate starts working out and learning martial arts, and they always whisper in the dead of night. Can you not be alarmed? However, South Korea and the United States are unfazed and even express that if North Korea dares to use nuclear weapons, it will be the end of the Kim Jong-un regime. It's like when you're watching a horror movie in a theater, you know it's just a movie and you know you're safe. That's their attitude. At this point, the G7 and other countries join the show, calling on China to prevent North Korea from using Chinese waters to evade sanctions. It feels like your neighbors starting to complain about your dog using their garden as a toilet when you don't even have a dog. The dog belongs to your neighbors, but they expect you to take responsibility for it. Now let's take a look at this letter addressed to China. The letter says, "We are concerned about the continued presence of multiple tankers in your country's waters near the Sansha Bay, providing shelter and assisting North Korea in evading sanctioned petroleum trade." I feel like it's your neighbor calling you over and saying, "I'm concerned that your dog is defecating in my garden." And then you reply, "But I don't have a dog." And they would say, "But it's your garden." Seeing news like this with North Korea, China, and countries like the G7 involved, missile launches, and the US nuclear submarine, doesn't it sound like the plot of a new James Bond movie? It's just missing 007. Speaking of 007, I just read an article about the rare public accusation made by Richard Moore, the head of MI6, blaming China as a co-conspirator in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. For someone like me who loves political gossip, this is really big news. It's like a real-life soap opera in the world of politics. You know, the kind where there always seems to be a hidden big boss pulling the strings behind the scenes. And China being accused as a co-conspirator with Russia reminds me of an old crime partner movie, like Inception, or Heat, where two master criminals come together to pull off a heist. They might be sitting in a rundown apartment saying, "Alright, Putin, let's make a big move." We want the whole world to know we're not to be messed with. I can imagine them all together, wearing black suits, sunglasses covering their eyes, and holding a glass of gin in their hands. And more also warned about China's data trap, and technological advancements posing a threat to other countries. Yeah, it's like that email scammer who wants you to click on their "You've won $1 million" link. But even though we know it's a trap, we still want to click. Why? Because we all want that $1 million, right? He also mentioned that China presented a highly questionable peace plan. Oh, it seems like this peace plan might be just like those peace agreements proposed during family gatherings, you know, the ones that everyone in the family knows will only last about 5 minutes at the dinner table. Overall, these global political games really feel like a farce, like we're watching a large-scale real-life version of Game of Thrones. Let's just hope that this game doesn't get too out of hand, or else we might really need a dragon to help us solve the problems. Let's talk about China's Foreign Minister Qin Gang. Now, the whole world is betting on where he went, right? The funny thing is, the Chinese Foreign Ministry refused to disclose any information during the press conference and even deleted the question from the record. You know, China's unique transparency strategy is like, it's better if you don't know, knowing too much will scare you. Meanwhile, the US is saying, it's definitely an awkward moment if we can't reach China's foreign minister. It's like waiting for your dance partner at a party, but she never shows up, and you're left standing there, holding a bouquet of roses, wearing your dance crown, feeling awkward and embarrassed. Just after Qin Gang disappeared, China's Communist Party's foreign policy chief, Wang Yi, stepped forward and attended important meetings. It's like when your dance partner doesn't show up, and then your friend steps in and says, "It's okay, I'll dance with you. Let's have fun." However, deep down, you know that this doesn't solve your problem because your dance partner still hasn't shown up. Now, there are people saying that Qin Gang's departure might be due to an extramarital affair, or internal political struggles, or a genuine illness. This reminds me of those popular soap operas where you never know what will happen next. One day, he might suddenly reappear like in a TV drama and say, "I'm back, and I brought along a secret child in my new lover, who happens to be an alien." Overall, Qin Gang's disappearance is like a Hollywood blockbuster with all sorts of plot twists, and no one knows what will happen next. I just hope that when this drama ends, we can find a satisfying resolution instead of being left hanging like those TV shows with a "to be continued," making us all eagerly await the second season. Former U.S. National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger recently made a surprise visit to Beijing and had meetings with China's Defense Minister Li Shangfu, the director of the Communist Party's Central Foreign Affairs Office Wang Yi, and China's top leader Xi Jinping. During the visit, Xi Jinping mentioned Kissinger's age of 100 and also stated that Kissinger has visited China over 100 times, emphasizing the special significance of Kissinger's visit. Kissinger, on the other hand, emphasized that U.S.-China relations are crucial for the peace and prosperity of both countries and the world. Recent tensions between the U.S. and China, such as sanctions and human rights issues, have brought attention to Kissinger's visit to China. Some media speculate that this visit may help thaw U.S.-China relations, while others believe that the timing for a breakthrough in U.S.-China relations is not imminent. Xi Jinping told Kissinger that the Chinese people will always remember him. Kissinger also met with China's Minister of Defense, who has repeatedly rejected contact requests from the U.S. Secretary of Defense. By warmly receiving old friends like Kissinger, Beijing is attempting to expand its influence beyond official diplomatic channels. Analysts say that China's intention is to show goodwill to individuals who may help change Washington's views. China has also been reaching out to leaders in the American business community. Figures like Gates, Musk, Cook, and others visited China this year, some engaging in high-level meetings with Chinese officials, receiving treatment equivalent to that of foreign dignitaries. For China, these visits by business leaders are also an opportunity to send signals domestically, demonstrating that even in the face of uncertain economic recovery prospects, foreign countries still have confidence in the Chinese economy. Zhu Feng, a professor of international relations at Nanjing University, stated that Kissinger's visit indicates Beijing's anxiety about how to influence and persuade American policy elites who are increasingly skeptical of China, as voices like Kissinger's in Washington are becoming scarce. Beijing often mentions Kissinger's role as Secretary of State in paving the way for Nixon's visit to China, using it as an example of a golden era in bilateral relations. The U.S. House Committee on Strategic Competition with China recently held a hearing to review the Biden administration's policy towards China. Committee Chairman Gallagher stated that initially, Biden had a tougher policy towards China, but after the spy balloon incident, he started seeking dialogue with China. He criticized the U.S. government for getting stuck in zombie-like engagement with China, and some Republican lawmakers believe this shows weakness in the U.S. government's approach towards China. On the 21st, Kurt Campbell, the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, emphasized during a seminar that the United States' One China policy has not changed and warned China not to challenge the status quo or engage in what the U.S. considers provocative and coercive actions against Taiwan in the Taiwan Strait. He believes that the challenge posed by China is significant for all U.S. partners, and the best approach is to build collective capabilities. On the 20th, Senator Risch and 9 Republican senators from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee sent a letter to Secretary Blinken opposing China's involvement in mediating the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The letter stated that China's role in Ukraine would severely harm U.S. interests, Ukraine's future in Europe, and overall European security. The U.S. government mistakenly believes that the differences between China and Russia are expanding, and the U.S. should plan ahead with European and Indo-Pacific partners for Ukraine's reconstruction to prevent China from pursuing its unilateral interests. Open black lens bracket Chinese student accused of racially motivated assault against Hong Kongers in the UK close black lens bracket during a commemorative event for the anti-extradition movement held by Hong Kongers in Southampton, UK last month. An assault against Hong Kongers occurred. On the 21st, the British police arrested a Chinese student and charged him with racially motivated assault. The victim stated that the perpetrator had returned to China after the incident, and he believes that the UK police were somewhat ineffective in handling the case and should have noticed and investigated the perpetrator upon his entry into the country. A Hong Kong man was sentenced to 3 months in prison on Thursday, July 20, for insulting the national anthem. He had edited a video clip of Olympic gold medalist Zhang Jialong with the song, "Glory to Hong Kong," which became an anthem for the anti-extradition movement, and posted it on YouTube. A court in Malawi has ruled that a Chinese national, Liu, accused of involvement in the production of a racially discriminatory film and child exploitation, is guilty on multiple charges. He has been sentenced to 12 months in prison and will be deported. On Friday, China announced a series of measures to promote consumption of automobiles and electronic products, the latest move by Chinese government officials to support the world's second-largest economy. The People's Bank of China is taking further steps to slow down the depreciation of the yuan. On Thursday, the central bank set the onshore yuan's midpoint rate at 7.1466 against the US dollar, significantly stronger than market expectations. The Chinese central bank has also raised the macro-prudential adjustment parameters for cross-border financing by domestic companies, which could encourage capital inflows into China and help support the yuan. Fu Bao, the giant panda living in the Everland Zoo in South Korea, celebrated his 3rd birthday on the 20th. Fu Bao has gained attention and affection from the people of China, South Korea, and Japan. Despite the current situation of less cooperation between the 3 countries, the diplomatic authorities are paying attention to the public's interest and love for this 3-year-old panda. China even conducted a live broadcast of the celebration through its national broadcaster, CCTV. Hello everyone, I'm your news anchor, Yali. We are here every day to provide you with a one-stop service for Chinese news. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section, and we will read and respond to your comments seriously. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode. Take care everyone.